Good morning from day 3 of Modex. I'm here with Worth Collins from Advanced Solutions and Slot 3D, talking today about software over the next decade, particularly around how automation, workforce management, and optimized software come together to drive the warehouse of the next 10 years. Many of you already have a lot of software solutions, and many of you have struggles trying to rationalize all of them together. Over the next 10 years, things will get, in many ways, much more complicated. But I think what I want to talk about today is how software vendors and solution providers can help make that process simpler, and how the market will change from a vendor perspective over the next decade. So, Worth, can you introduce your company and yourself in more detail to the audience?
Yes, I'm Worth Collins. I'm the Executive Vice President of Advanced Solutions. That's the parent company of Slot 3D, LLC. Slot 3D has been around for about 18 years now. Lots of very great customers that we've been able to attract and maintain around the world. But we see lots of things changing in distribution, lots of challenges, all right, that we're stepping up to put our thinking caps on and develop the kinds of solutions that our customers are looking for. Yeah. So we are very aggressive moving the company, growing the company in that direction. So.
Absolutely. So I understand your solution is very focused around optimization of data and turning all the data that might sit in a warehouse management solution or even an ERP into more actionable, more usable information. Explain to me your thought process around how data, particularly moving into the future, can be better optimized and better utilized by various systems like yours and others, and how these, how all the core solutions will have to be augmented by, call it niche or advanced solutions like yourself.
Right. Well, the biggest change that's coming is the complexity in the warehouse. Because the warehouses are having to serve multiple customers now.
Absolutely.
They're serving big box retail, they're serving convenience store types of people, they are serving direct to consumer kinds of things. And to leverage their infrastructure, they're doing that in most cases through the same facilities or the same sets of infrastructure that they're doing. It adds a lot of complexity to the circumstances.
Indeed.
But another piece of the things is that things are changing rapidly and they're changing daily. They're not static for periods of times as to where one optimization will set the things for a longer period. Things need to be in a constant state of re-optimizing every day. What we see is the need to be able to look forward and optimize to the future state, not just the current state. Because if you don't have the ability to predict what the future state's going to be and be in a constant state of preparation for that, you fall behind the curve and you don't get the payback for the changes that you have to physically make to arrange the optimization in reality.
Absolutely. So that brings an interesting obligation then to us as solution providers, because historically solution providers, whether it be slotting optimization, whether it be wave optimization, whether it be route optimization, we all had this concept of planning. Years in advance, sometimes months in advance, weeks in advance, and certainly at least days in advance. And I think where I see the market heading and where I see consumers demanding is the ability to react on a dime.
Right.
And so, what are your thoughts around, as a software provider, how do you expect the rest of the industry to respond in terms of software design to meet that need?
Well, I think there are lots of standalone kinds of applications that do their own kinds of things. But I see the greatest benefit for customers coming from the ability to aggregate these different things into a common platform, okay, with a common user interface to be able to actually take advantage of all these different kinds of things that tools will do for you. For instance, from a slotting perspective, you can't just rely on historical information.
Indeed.
Because you've got ads placement, you've got promotional SKUs that are being added for a short period of time. So something has to look out from the viewpoint of what's planned, okay? That information exists, but it exists in different systems.
Right.
So that's got to be
connectivity.
pulled together and aggregated into a total management information type of system platform that people can use to use all the data elements to stay prepared for things that are going to change tomorrow, change next week, change next month. So it has to continually look forward, not just historically and looking backward.
Right.
Because if you only optimize to that, then as things change and there was no preparation for it, you're not prepared to take any advantage from the optimization that should have been done before.
Absolutely. Yeah, the end result in that situation would often, in today's world, is often overstocking of items that are no longer relevant, and then understocking of items that are about to become hot.
Exactly.
And so on both sides of that equation, customers are losing opportunity, and and that cost structure, especially as competition continues to heat up, as change continues to heat up, as innovation continues to drive and push the envelope. What we're seeing, I think, across the industry is a need for flexibility.
Exactly.
The need to not just plan months in advance and then just run with it, but really the ability to react on a daily basis to whatever's changing in the market. I think perhaps the most obvious, you can't talk about it now, or can't talk about supply chain now without talking about the impact of coronavirus. How many companies are now in a very unique situation where their demand has dropped substantially, or in the case of the toilet paper companies, where the demand has suddenly skyrocketed, and then they have to find a way to respond to that.
Yeah, and much of that could be occurring inside the same distribution centers.
Indeed, indeed, absolutely.
So it's those kinds of things that change rapidly, change unexpectedly, that being able to plan forward for daily planning forward, weekly planning forward, makes a huge difference.
Indeed.
Makes a huge difference. Particularly in this area of automation, there's more and more automation getting added to things, but a part of optimizing the applications of the distribution center is getting the right product into the right automation. But that's not static either.
Indeed.
Because as things change, to get the full benefit of the throughput that the automation gives you, then different products need to be in there than what was in there yesterday or last week. So that's dynamic as well.
Absolutely, and especially as automation continues to change, particularly with autonomous robots and things like that. The idea that an autonomous robot is going to be constantly moving the exact same product over and over and over again is absolutely preposterous.
That's right.
The whole point of such a thing is to give you that flexibility and that freedom. And so automation as a whole is actually part of being impacted by this change as well. The idea that you could just throw down a $50 million sorter, bolt it to the floor, and run it for 25 years just doesn't make any sense anymore. In fact, oftentimes just the volume capabilities of a specific distribution center are being constantly challenged by changes in customer behavior. Am I pushing more volume to the west? Am I pushing more volume to the east? What distribution center is taking the majority of my demand at any point in time? And then also the what appears to be a pretty significant industry trend towards smaller warehouses closer to the consumer. At that point now, reacting to consumer demand and having flexibility in inventory placement, in slotting, in workforce availability, all of those things are profoundly impacted by changing consumer demand.
But all of those kinds of things, because of the speed and frequency of change, it requires more robust, more sophisticated information management tools to be able to keep up with it, because there's no way to keep up with it manually.
Yeah, no person has that level of visibility.
The information's got to be collected and aggregated and used in the right kinds of optimization tools to be prepared for what that change is going to be tomorrow.
Indeed, indeed. Well, looking forward, say 10 years, obviously. Looking forward beyond that is almost impossible. Looking forward even 10 years from today seems very fuzzy. But where do you see your solutions, your technology going, and what do you believe people should be thinking about as it pertains to slotting, inventory availability, those sorts of things going forward, and where do you think you're trying to push your customer base to think bigger, think into the future?
Well, I think the key to the application for our product into the future is, again, the partnerships with more people that are doing their individual types of things, but to be able to bring this component into it for the product placement, product location kinds of things.
Absolutely.
That's our forte. That's where the power of our product and algorithms comes from, is to be able to do that extremely effectively and efficiently. And the power of visualization of the layout, with a lot of the setup and changes being actually with the user being interfacing with the layout with a real digital model or prototyping model. That's what allows the ability to change things rapidly, so that when people understand what a change is, they can immediately relay that to the digital model of their warehouse. They can do the economic justification for whatever the preparation is that they can change, so they can quickly understand economic impact of what physically needs to be changed, so that it will be optimized for tomorrow and next week or the next promotion.
Indeed.
That's coming. That's where I see the power of our fit going forward. But to do that, we've got to have partner relationships with people that are doing the other pieces of the information management.
Absolutely, and I think that's really going forward. I think that's really the aha for supply chain technology, is that no one company is going to have every solution.
That's right.
At the same time, it's incumbent upon us as technology providers to create strong, powerful methods of integrating data in a robust and ideally cost-effective way, to make sure that all of the systems running their various specialties can actually take advantage of all that data.
Yeah.
So, looking forward into the future, that is perhaps one of the most important things to consider, is how your various systems work together and what partners are the right partners to bring to the table. There's a lot of solutions on the market that do various things, and every business is a little bit different. The key is recognizing how to bring all of those together to build a solution that works best for your company. With that, Worth, thank you very much for the time here.
My pleasure.
Pleasure talking to
Thank you.
And this is Seth Patin signing off from Modex Day 3.